Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Duggan with IGN, and I'm here with Sean Finnegan.
Hello.
You are a LEM. Tell me what LEM means, Sean.
LEM is the third highest rank in competitive matchmaking. It stands for Legendary Eagle Master.
That is so prestigious, I can't even begin. And the other thing I can't even do, well, hypothetically, let's say I'm terrible at Counter-Strike. Let's say, hypothetically, I have no skill and can't aim. Can I still dominate in Counter-Strike, Sean?
Dominate is a relative term, but you can definitely play to your strengths and stand toe-to-toe. Counter-Strike is a game about strategy as much as it is a game about aim. So if you don't have good aim, you can compensate for that by having really good teamwork, knowing the maps really well, having great game awareness, and making good decisions.
Okay, so let's talk about those individual elements you just mentioned. The first one I want to talk about is something called pre-fire. Can you tell me what pre-fire is, and can you tell me how you get good at pre-fire?
Pre-fire is all about awareness. Generally, people can pre-fire every corner, and you'll get lucky, and sometimes people will be there. But what it comes down to is knowing where your opponents will typically be based on the sounds that you're hearing and what is happening in game. The act of actually pre-firing is jumping out of a corner and shooting before they're actually within your line of sight. And that way, when you come into their line of sight, you have already got bullets headed their direction and you have the jump on them. It plays towards something that's called peeker's advantage, where the person who is making the peek, as opposed to the person holding the angle, actually has the advantage. That is what pre-fire is. It can be risky because, you know, if you fire your gun, that allows your enemies to know where you are. So if you miscalculate and you pre-fire a corner where they're not, you are effectively giving away your position. But if someone has better aim than you, that's a great way of outshooting them.
So another factor in knowing a map well is knowing where enemies will be relative to where you are. How does somebody go about getting map knowledge, and what consists of good map knowledge?
Generally, map knowledge and map awareness is being able to effectively communicate to your teammates what is happening and what you're seeing in a way that's relevant to them. Knowing the callouts is also a big part of this. Being able to tell your teammates, hey, there's 2 in lower B, or they're pushing me on cat, or hey, I just got killed in A and they're about to plant for long. That gives your teammates information and will allow them to better execute a strategy to win the round.
Right. So I asked you the other day what one of the biggest mistakes, or one of the most common mistakes you see is. You said when you were spectating people, you were like, my God, this guy has no sound or has terrible headphones or doesn't have his sound up. How important is sound in Counter-Strike? And I guess to kind of answer my own question, why is it so important?
Sound is probably the most important part of Counter-Strike. And I say that like it at times is more important than even being able to see an enemy, because sometimes, depending on the angles, you will be able to hear an enemy but not see them, but being able to hear them will effectively tell you what they're trying to do or where they are. It's easy to tell when someone has their headphones on backwards because they think that someone's coming from the left when they're very obviously coming from the right. Or there are times when you can just stop and listen and get a sense of the layout of where your opponents are on the map and then get an advantage. Like you make a maneuver that's going to put you behind them, where you're going to get the jump on them. It's so important. Sound is so important. Counter-Strike is a puzzle in that you're always trying to figure out where your opponents are, and by shift walking and not allowing yourself to be heard, you're effectively in stealth mode.
One of the things I was very surprised at when I watched you play, I thought you were going to be firing maybe 2 or 3 shots at a time, but you go full auto, and you compensate for the recoil. How common is that, and would you recommend that to somebody? Is that kind of the standard practice?
Yeah, spraying is a slippery slope. Like, you don't want to spray all the time, but at close range, it's the most effective. And even at mid-range, it can be very effective if you know how to control the spray. At long range, you don't want to spray. You want to avoid as much as possible. You want to strafe left, take a couple of bursts, strafe right, take a couple of bursts. And certainly with sniper rifles, I mean, aside from the scout, you can't strafe and shoot accurately, so you need to be standing still, and you need to take your time and line up those shots. The same can be said for rifles, but really what it comes down to, what it boils down to, is learning when and where the spray is going to help you and when and where it's going to hurt you. The general rule is, yeah, if it's close range, or if you're crouched, or if it's a sort of a narrow angle, like let's say you're in a hallway and you're spraying at someone, or you're shooting at someone who's, 10 or 15 meters in front of you, it's okay to spray right there as long as you know the recoil, because it gives you a greater chance to hit them with more bullets and kill them faster than they're going to kill you.
Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 profiles of 2 different players and give me advice for each player. The first profile is somebody who is actually very good at aiming, feels as though he's consistently winning trades, but somehow he's not winning ranked matches at all. He never seems to be in the right place at the right time. What is kind of the best path for him to take to improve as a player?
So that boils down to teamwork and map awareness and possibly decision making. a lot of players will have really great aim, but they lose rounds or clutch 1v1 situations because they just make a poor choice, or they don't think that the opponent can hear them. Or, you know, if you're a counter-terrorist and the bomb is planted and you know that the terrorist is watching it and waiting for you to defuse, a great way to get them to reveal their location is fake a defuse. You defuse, you let go of the defuse, you don't make sound, because if you make sound, that alerts the terrorist that you're not defusing anymore. But that will draw them out because they have to assume that you have a kit. They don't want you to defuse the bomb before they peek you, and that's a great way to get them to peek. So making decisions like that, like using the bomb or locations or angles or fakes to kind of get people to give you information, that's going to be how you improve. Also, just better communication. Like, you don't want to have to put yourself in a 1v1 situation where you have to clutch if you don't have to, right? Like, if it's 5v3 or 5v2, play defensive, work with your team.
Okay, the second profile is somebody who's a master tactician, who's always in the right place at the right time, always telling his teammates to stack the right bomb sites, but can just never get headshots and never seem to win a 1v1 firefight. What does that guy do?
That comes down to practice. You just got to deathmatch a lot. There's also something called headshot mode, or headshot mod, it's HS mod, where it'll only register kills if you hit them in the head, or it'll only register hits if you hit them in the head. That's a great way to practice aiming at the head. That's a great way to just refine your aim. You can acquire good aim after lots and lots of time. Some people just have it, but if you're consistently losing gun battles, then it comes down to working on your strafing and your movement and learning those bursts and stuff, and then just practicing.
Awesome. All right, Sean Finnegan, legendary Master Eagle, or legendary Eagle Master. Sorry, don't shoot me. For all things Counter-Strike, keep it right here on IGN.